is it with me and having tractors that have front flat tires? I can't even drive this thing now. What am I supposed to do? That's the only thing stopping me from driving this. Welcome back to another episode of Tractor Roy. My name is Trent. Today we got an International 350 tractor that we're working on. Turns out it's actually an International 300. Give you a little backstory on it. International 350. The thing that kind of caught my eye on this is the actual 350s. This strip, like, see how this stops right here? Well, the actual 300, it continues on back, which is weird, but then, which is weird that I noticed that, but then this is supposed to be white also, and there's no remnants of this part being white. So I looked into it a little bit farther, and here on the side above the oil filter, cast into the block is the number C169. So the International 350 actually was C175. So that tells me somebody painted the grill to try and make it look like a 350, and they threw on 350 badges. Next step here, I'm going to rob the wheels off of my WD-45 that runs, because it's the same bolt pattern as this. Bring them up here, and we'll get started there. Okay, so I'm going to try and jack up, I think, from the drawbar. Lift this thing up, take off each of the tires to go put on that other tractor. We'll see how it goes. Oh, that's what you call a locking lug. Make it a different size, it's a pain to steal them. I don't know what the price of these things nowadays. Well, these, I could see that somebody might want to steal them. Okay, let's see. If a guy was smart on a WD-45 like this, they'd change out the oil in the final drives. I'm not. Let's see. Remember, it's all in the back. Jerking, twisting motion. Oh my God. One nice thing about Baby Blue here has a built-in lowering kit. It's just so old, the springs are sagging. I don't have to pick it up very high. Okay, this one's stuck, so I got a come along attached to the gooseneck ball. Yank this thing up and over with a come along instead of a Trent along. Back to that tractor. We're back here with the wheels and tires. These ones hold air, and those ones don't. So this one is a 6-volt system with a generator on it, so it is positive ground still. So our negative will go directly to the starter. New cables are definitely on the list. And then our positive goes to the frame. Okay, there's choke. Oh boy! Give her some throttle. Well, I guess we don't have to worry about throttle. Gotta see if this thing turns over. Uh-oh. Okay, check the oil. It's black and full. Oh no, it's good. It's not over full. I think it's because of the angle that this thing's sitting at with No back tires. Yep, we're pretty good. Pushing the clutch in help? Oh yeah. So my battery's dead. Okay, what we'll probably do on this is jump it with the 12 volt of the truck. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump this thing when we're ready. This battery, it only needs to have enough to run the points, which it does because it's able to turn the engine, so we know the points are going to work. So we'll take this lead, goes from the solenoid straight to the battery. So, ooh, that's kind of gross too. Goes from the solenoid to the battery, so we can stick our 12 volt jumper cables, the 12 volt off the truck to either here or here. And it's isolated because this goes to our 6 volt battery, this goes to our starter. So as long as this isn't closed, we can stick 12 volts on here. It won't send 12 volts to the 6 volt battery, and we'll be able to jump just our starter. As long as we leave the key on and this has enough battery for the points, then we'll be okay to run. So I guess I'm going to throw some tires on this thing and throw some gas in it. Okay, so I'm not really sure what was going on with this thing. The 6 volt didn't want to turn it over, so then I jumped the starter and it still didn't want to turn over, so I was kind of wondering if the engine was locked up. It's not. I depressed the clutch and it started spinning it, so I think something's frozen in here, but now after putting the 12 volt battery just straight in there instead of jumping it, now it doesn't matter and it's spinning the engine over fine. So I'm not really sure what the deal with that was, but I also don't have a battery in the truck that's supposed to be getting me home, so let's see what happens. So this thing's spinning over now, but I'm betting that my points are going to be not good. There's some stuff that's a little goofy like that. That'll have to get fixed. Wow, inside the cap looks great. Other than being dusty, this thing looks pretty new too. So the history on this thing, my wife's grandpa bought this when he first started haying a piece that they got a little ways from here. It was like 2000-ish, 2002 maybe that he bought this, and then he didn't like this one, like it blew the hydraulic pump right here. So he had that rebuilt, but then ended up just getting a different tractor instead of this one. This one doesn't have power steering, so I don't think, it was on a pivot, so he didn't like having to drive around in circles without power steering. So I'm just going to take a little piece of sandpaper. I couldn't find my emery cloth, so this is 320 grit. You don't want like super coarse stuff. Obviously it works if you're in a pinch, but it's not super great. And these points look pretty gross. I'll have to get new ones before I get super serious about this thing. Probably on like the first list of stuff to do once it looks like it gets the sediment bowl to stop leaking. Okay, and then what you want to do, last step, pretty important, is you want to clean that dust off of these points. Just like that. Should be able to put her back together here. So in the case of this thing, right over here, there's a notch. And on this cap, there's a piece that juts out that fits into that notch. Locked in there, you can kind of like twist it back and forth until it settles in. Okay, we should be good now. Oh my god. But we're connected still. I had this thing running like 5 years ago. Not well, but it ran. I never moved it though because the tire, or one of the tires, was really bad. So this thing hasn't moved under its own power in like 25 years, probably 20 years. I don't know how the fuel system is, so we're going to give her a little shot of ether. Hook our battery back in. And try it out. Oh, it'll run. I think there's too much corrosion and stuff. There's a whole lot of, you can tell when it slows down and then picks back up and then slows down again. When it slows down, it's finding a lot of resistance, so I'm guessing that it's in all these terminals. That thing's pretty well shot. So my guess is probably this one, especially the solenoid. You know, power comes into it, but power's not going out the right way. There's probably rust and stuff in there. So I might just have to take this down to my house, because I got a lot more tools to work on it there than I do up here. And I don't want to wear my battery out so I can't get home. Okay, so I ran to the store, got a new starter solenoid, got a new set of points, got some new battery cables. This one goes from the solenoid to the starter. This one goes from the battery to the solenoid. And then I got a new ground strap. I think our old solenoid had some, well, I think everything had some corrosion, so it had bagged connections. And then our solenoid, I think, is just like, it's finally given out. Enough moisture and stuff's gotten in there over the years that it's not wanting to make a good connection and doesn't want to spin that engine over fast enough. So we're going to swap these out. Okay, right here is the starter solenoid. So battery cable right here, attached to the battery, comes into the top side of this solenoid. Outside of the bottom, that's what runs to the starter. This is the switch which connects the battery to the starter. That way you're not, because if you had the battery connected straight to the starter, it'd just always spin. This yellow cable that's right here that has seen better days is coming off of our key switch. That's what sends power to this coil to close the contacts between this cable and this cable. These other two wires that are hanging off of here are, no, one's coming off of the, or one's going to the generator, the other one's coming up to that key switch. So that way your key can send power to the coil to turn on. So we're going to go ahead and take all these off real quick. So we got one that's S and one that's I. Our old setup only had one post. This one's, it was a 3-post. This one's a 4-post. So with a 3-post, you have one off the battery, one going to the starter, and then one that comes off your key switch, which is what the S stands for. On this one, since it's a 4-post, the S is your key switch. You still have going to your battery, going to your starter like normal, but then this I is the ignition switch. So when this is closed, sending current from here to here, like you have power on this, it closes that contact when the key is on. When you're cranking that key, when it's in the start position, it sends power to this, which closes this. And when this is closed, it sends a full 12 volts to your coil. With the normal setup, how it's set up, you won't have a full 12 volts going to your coil if it's going through the key switch. So when you send 12 volts to it, it will make it easier to start. And then as soon as you let the key off so that you're not cranking the starter anymore, then the coil is fed just like normal. And it runs fine, but it just gets a little bit hotter spark when you run the coil wire off of this. A little bit hotter spark just to help it start that much easier. I usually don't use that one because you don't really need to all the time. When I go through to rewire this permanently, kind of when I go through this thing doing oil change and all that good stuff, I'm probably going to stick this starter terminal or starter solenoid like up under the dash or something so it's out of the weather. I mean, granted, who knows how old that last solenoid was, but we could have made it last a lot longer even then if it was tucked under the dash out of the elements. In addition to our battery cable, this is the most convenient spot to bring any battery power, any unswitched constant hot that you need on this tractor. Rather than going all the way back to the battery, crimping it on there, you can just land it on this side of the starter solenoid. So these ones, one of these wires goes up to the key, and the other one probably goes up to like the generator, I think is what I was saying before. Yeah. Should be one for the key power, one for the dash power, and one for the generator. Here's another something interesting. This plastic wire loom tells me this thing's been rewired once before. That wasn't a factory thing. And I also kind of wonder if this wasn't added on after the fact also. So if we're still having problems with it, because we're going to be replacing our ground cable over there, if we're still having problems, the starter grounds through where it mounts onto the bell housing, or onto the back of the engine, I suppose, clutch housing. Anyways, it grounds through there. So if we're still having issues, we might have to pull the starter off, take some sandpaper and clean up that mating surface, and then stick it back on. That's why you only have one cable going to starters. Just have power. It grounds through the case, and it grounds through how it is bolted and attached to the rest of the tractor. And same applies, like all of this that I'm talking about applies to vehicles the same too. Fords still have these starter solenoids key switch goes here to close the contacts, battery on one side, starter on the other. The other one's sending the full 12 volts to your coil to help it start. Still, you know, it transfers across to vehicles. Okay, this is the other thing that you will fight more than you realize. Dirty terminals, and then dirty terminals, bad cables, and then you can get a lot of corrosion inside of here, a bunch of moisture getting under there. Because you don't have a good connection to ground, then only half your battery works, and you need both halves of your battery working to complete the circuit. You can have good power going to your starter all you want, just like we did with brand new cables, but if you can't have the negative side of things, or sorry, the ground side of things like this, then it won't do you any good. Battery cables are done. Now I think we're going to work on the points next. We got our battery installed. Now we can pull this off because I cleaned the points already. So if we're working, okay, so if we're working, you should be able to see spark there between the points. Don't think I'm going to be able to get the camera in there to show you. And we have spark. So even though I bought those points, I think I'm going to wait until I get this back down to the house to replace it when I've got a little more space. Convenience. Running shy on time. So on these points, every time it opens, it breaks that connection. How this works is you got power coming in here, and it's grounded currently through those points. When those points are closed, this is grounded. The voltage wants to travel through the coil this way. When those open, it breaks the connection to ground. Instead of power coming through this way, it now goes through this way. Because if you think about it, the casing of that spark plug, that little electrode hook thing that sticks out at the end, that's the ground. So the spark plug goes through here, hits the cap. Wherever the cap's pointing, it goes out on that wire, goes through the electrode of the spark plug, and then it jumps that gap to get to ground. So the electricity just wants to get to ground. If the points are closed, the electricity goes through this way and just dies here on the distributor. If those points are open, the power comes through here, through your coil wire, going into your distributor cap, and then out to the spark plug. So that means verified spark here should be able to spray some starting fluid on that side, make sure this thing will run. Then we can deal with the carburetor and gas and all that good stuff. But we want to make sure this thing runs first before we get too far. The cranks. She fired. Well, we got spark. It's working. I'm going to pull the fuel line off. Make sure I got fuel going down to this thing. It could be that our float's stuck in here. Could be a couple of things, I guess, but it's probably more likely that our float's stuck or we're just not getting fuel. We are. Smells good, so. Smells like fresh gas. I did just put some in here trying to get this thing started. It's good to verify that we got stuff, or gas coming down to the carburetor though. Okay, now I'm going to open the drain of the carburetor. If we got fuel coming out, our float isn't stuck. Okay. Got gas coming to it. That's good.
Trent forgot his camera in the car, so being the loving wife that I am, thought I'd get some exclusive footage for him.
Sounds like it's going to fall off. I can't tell if it's where the center attaches to this tractor or the center is attached to the bed.
Yes, we do have a perfectly good 1-ton truck, but we're towing it with a Tahoe.
Go.
Where do I go from here?
Huh?
Where should I go from here?
How about we park it here so our neighbors can appreciate it?
Okay.
So the seat really didn't soften up like I was hoping it would, so that's a bummer. Also, when I was just being a steering wheel holder, didn't really have to think. I started noticing this. So the intake and exhaust manifold are right here under this, and the exhaust comes out and exits under the tractor. So the intake is right here. You would think that the exhaust would be right here, so that instead of going down, this thing would be flipped up and come out right here. But the hole's on this side, and there's nothing down there. It's not like on the letter series farm-alls, I've seen oil fill holes up here. I guess it'd be more like right here in the middle, but like, it doesn't make sense because the oil fill's right there. So I don't know, maybe can you get like over there? Maybe that'll be a project of mine. I have to figure out how to flip this exhaust around and come out the other side. Oh, maybe. Oh, it's cracked right there, dang. Maybe I could throw a 90 on, except it's gonna have to loop around weird. I don't really know.
So this is the point of this video. We're changing the points on this 350 International.
That was the points I was gonna make. Dang it. So, if you hadn't noticed by what just happened in the video, dragging this thing down, I kind of gave up working on it up there. I'd like to say that I have more tools here, but in reality, this still isn't the shop where all my tools are. So, I have the same amount of tools, it's just at my house. But I got tired of cleaning stuff up, so I could go do other things. Here, I can kind of leave stuff out, because it's my house. So yeah, we're going to swap these points out. I kind of think that's where the issue is lying, or part of the issue, and I think we're going to do like a quick rewire on this thing. I'm kind of wondering if there's some broken insulation somewhere, like that. That didn't help things. And I think that our coil might be grounding somewhere else, and so we're getting intermittent spark instead of a consistent spark. So this camera's probably not going to pick it up, but it looks like they had 12 volts going straight to it, which is what we're going to do anyways. And it melted half of the point, so like you can see there's a little crescent moon, and you can catch your fingernail on it pretty badly. So, I don't know if it's the issue, but it's an issue.
Is this a parking brake?
No, it's the PTO engagement lever.
Give me 5.
Brady, have you never been around a tractor before?
Well, it's right next to the brake housing.
There's our condenser. It's a genuine International Harvester condenser. I kind of wonder if this is original. I can't imagine these actually go bad that often. But it's another one of those things that it came in the kit, so we'll just replace it. And I mean, come on, if they couldn't run a business and keep that afloat, then who says they can make good parts? Oh no!
What, Dad?
Oh, I dropped a screw. Oh, I got it.
Got it?
Well, the condenser.
Oh.
I still have to do the points. Okay, so on these points, these are a 2-piece point, which I think this is about the only one I've ever seen that's a 2-piece. So we got our ground side of the points right here, individual. This is where we will adjust our point gap. And this is the one that the power comes through. So this is isolated, the stud that goes through it. We'll have the ground coming off of or the common coming off of our coil to right here. It's isolated, hits this strap, runs through this strap. It's isolated right there on that pin. Comes down here, and that's the only point that it should make contact with the ground is through right there. This is our condenser wire. This just stores energy, and then when these points start to open, it sends like a quick burst to stop the arc. If you have a condenser go bad, it almost looks like what that old set of points was, and it'll start eroding away the face of these faster than if you have a condenser that's good in there. These things are actually like really pretty simple, as long as you keep in mind that the only place this thing should ground is right there. So like if this insulation's bad on this wire, that can short it out. If this isolating material here is bad, it can short it out. If this is bad, it'll short it out. If this isolating here, or the insulation bushing is bad, it can short it there. There's a lot of places that you can mess up, but as long as you kind of like work your way through it, it's pretty easy.
A lot of people hate dealing with points too.
I think most people hate dealing with points. You know? Like, everybody kind of just thinks it's a mystery. Which I guess it kind of is if you don't look into it, but it's just so easy to take a little bit of time and play with it. You know, you can take your test light, you can test your points too, and you can stick like one end here and one end here, and you can sit there and open it and play with it. You can see how it works in real time, you know. Makes a bit of a difference.
And pretty much any good farm store will carry points on the shelf.
Yeah, for many models of tractors, like this set of points. Well, it came with points, condenser, and rotor. This is all the old stuff in the package. And this one is good for Case AH, an A, B, C, H, M, Super A, Super C, Super H, Super M, Super MTA, W4, W6, 100, 130, 140, 200, 230, 240, 300, 330, 340, 350, 400, 404, 444, and 450. All with battery ignition. That just means so they don't have a magneto. This is a battery ignition. This is a distributor. If you had a magneto, it would mean it wasn't a battery ignition. So the C and the M that we got over at the other place, that'll work, or these points will work in that. The 240 that's sitting right over there in the field, this will work, and it works on this. Maybe we should just call this a 325. It's like, it's not a 350, but it's labeled a 350. So it's a 300 that thinks it's a 350.
We'll just average out the two.
Yeah, so if we average it, we'll call it a 325.
That way everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be no confusion calling it a 325. Okay, now we got to time set the point gap. Gentry, you keep hitting my light. Okay, now we're going to set the point gap. So we got to turn the engine over for that.
Do you have a battery anywhere?
I do. Might be easy, just as easy to roll this tractor.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we tried pushing this thing over, throwing it in the highest gear so it makes the engine turn the slowest. Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
This thing freaking sucks. I don't know. I don't know if there's like some moisture in there and it's hard to turn or what. But we're going to go grab a battery and so we can bump that thing so we can gap our points. We're going to grab a battery from one of those because the battery that I was using this I think might be dead. So off on an adventure.
We're on a field trip because we're in a field.
I think the one that's in this one's too big. Yeah, that's not going to fit. Oh, that looks terrible. Ugh. I really should get these batteries out. The 240 has one, but I think this one has one too. I don't know, I need to take all of them out so I can like trickle.
Yet?
Yeah, it's 12 volt. Oh.
We have a lot of choices.
We do have a battery. Oh, this one looks gross too. Oh. You know, it just looks dirty. It doesn't look like it's leaking. This is like a brand new battery. What, June of 23?
Hey, this is air conditioning.
Hey. Yeah, it has air conditioning. It's, well, it's not like 260 air conditioning like the vehicles because there's no windows.
And you can't go 50.
That's true. It's straight piped? Well, it's partially straight piped.
Straight.
Yeah,
There's a little curve.
it's bent piped. It's curved piped. I think we'll go with this one though. Because it needs to come out anyways. Uh-oh, I don't have tools for this. Okay, scratch that. I did not bring tools and I actually tightened down that cable for once. So, on to the next one.
That's why I don't tighten my cables down. That way you can run the battery whenever you need it.
It makes it way easier. Okay, this one I converted to 12 volt this last year. God, oh, dang it, this one's too big. That's not a diehard. So I guess I'm gonna, and I think the one in that truck is another one of those interstate batteries.
I'm sure it's dead too.
No, I bet you we could fire that thing up right now actually.
Really?
Yeah, I bet so.
Oh.
Okay, so, wow, why did I not finish? Okay, so I guess this one I didn't rewire, I just configured the original wiring. So, like that, and like that. Instead of just picking one of the wires, I just doubled them up. So I think like one goes to the lights, one goes to the battery.
And that's why the swather caught on fire.
No, the swather caught on fire because I didn't have a fuel line hooked up.
Oh.
It was actually that green swather caught on fire. Actually, I might have some tools behind the seat here. Unless I pick it up, not there still.
Oh, that's right. This thing doesn't have air conditioning, it has a hay conditioner. Doesn't make things any cooler, but makes it dry faster.
Okay, so we got a bunch of random tools in here. I don't know if we're going to find something that works. Hey, need a section? Didn't do a very good job cleaning this. Holy cow.
Look at that radiator.
I think it's just irradiating pollen and stuff. Hey, that'll work for us. Whoa! Oh. Might be big enough.
Yeah, this thing got cleaned very well.
Hey, I was kind of over it.
Hey. Does we have to make like another bale shoved in here?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, there we go. I heard a pop. Yeah! I don't know if this is any good. I also don't know how... Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. These little batteries are super handy for converting from 6 volt to 12 volt. They're smaller than original 6 volt batteries, so they fit in those battery boxes just perfect.
What's the group size?
That's 26R. It's 510 crank or cold crank amps, which isn't very much, but I'm pretty sure it's still more than a 6 volt is.
And we start this thing a lot when it's cold, so you really need
This
that.
thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Actually, what I really want to do with this green swather is get a rotary snowplow for the front so I can take the head off, because it's got, like, the PTO shaft on it is just a drive shaft coming off, so you could totally, like, figure out what RPM you got to be for 540. You could stick a rotary snowblower on the front of this thing, and if you built the cab for it, then you could blow snow in the winter with your swather.
Okay, you also got this thing stuck in the summer too.
Well, I'd put better tires than that one. Actually, that's the new tire.
Better-
I'd put different
better
tires
tire.
on there. In the never-ending tire escapade that we have, one of these back tubes, actually I think I tubed them. So that front left one, I just put that tire on, that tube is bad. And then the right one, I still got to change the tire on it so it matches that one.
Oh, and we blocked it up in the summer when you parked it.
Yeah, and then the tire that was on that one is the one that I had a hole in, and I zip tied the hole closed and then put a patch on the inside of the zip ties. And it held for like, actually it held all year. It held for another like 60 acres of cutting with zip ties in the tire, and the sidewall of it.
This thing has a sleeper too.
There's a what?
A sleeper. So you can take your naps in.
This is where my, this is the buddy seat for this thing.
It's a training seat.
Yes.
Oh, it's got turn signals. It's almost road legal. Does this thing have a Hemi in it?
That's actually a slant 6. Still Chrysler though.
It's like half of one.
Ooh,
well,
this is my favorite. So I haven't done anything to this thing other than just drive it. I don't really know what's going on here. They got baling twine tied to a spring that really isn't doing anything. This is the one that I forgot to shut the gas off, and since the gas tank sits so much higher, like half of the tank drained through the carburetor and just filled the engine up with gas.
it's super clean now though.
Now it is, yeah. Oh, this is also the one, so there's a safety mechanism, so you have to be in neutral with the ground speed and the steering wheel before the starter will work. So somebody at some point took
boy.
this so they would jump that starter solenoid, so it could still be in gear when you go to jump this thing. So super sketchy. I've fixed it. I've adjusted stuff because we drove this thing off of the gooseneck trailer when we picked this up.
Bro, this is some mint welding.
It's farmer weld.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this stuff I'm maybe not concerned with because it's not like I go fast, so I don't really care. But a lot of stuff is weird on this.
So you can tell this was definitely cracked at one point.
Or did they just extend the frame? No, it was cracked. Yeah.
What does the
Oh
other
my
side
gosh,
look like?
look at this.
Oh yeah. What does the other side look like? Oh yeah.
Probably because somebody drove it off a trailer. Oh, nice.
See, I'll get a bunch of mice or something in there.
How long is that? No. I also don't have a vacuum advance. But I guess it doesn't matter. You're on at full throttle anyways.
Yeah. There's not a lot of advancements in technology
shoot.
around here.
Well, not a lot of what?
Advancements in technology.
The cool thing about this thing, though, is you can stand up and have people work on this. And this is totally not what this video was supposed to be focusing on.
That we don't want a bunch of mice out your exhaust.
Through the engine.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to forget about that when I go to use this.
Yep.
I'll probably also forget about the battery. Okay, off we go. When you have a tractor that's been sitting for a while, I like to hook the battery up backwards right away, so it spins the engine backwards and frees anything up that might be stuck. Oh yeah, and we don't have a wire going to our distributor here. We're gonna have to rewire this thing. For sure now. Okay. Out of gear. Clear prop! Oh, look at that, I stopped perfect. Okay, so, as you can see, we're on top of one of our lobes with our, I don't know, foot? The point's foot?
Yes.
It sounds good, okay. So, now we're on the point's foot, or the point's foot is on the lobe of the cam, of our distributor cam here. So it opened up our points. Now this gap between the ground point here and the hot end of the point here is our points gap. So we want to stick feeler gauge in there. Should be at like 20 thousandths is my guess. Seems like they're usually 15 thousandths to 20 thousandths. We'll just go with 20, bigger gap. Oh,
It only works for one of them, but
oh, I don't have a connection here. So be careful opening these because you can get shocked pretty good. Actually, it's worse on the secondary side of the coil. This side isn't bad, but I don't have a wire hooked up, so. Oh my gosh! That is perfect. For just throwing it in there, that is absolutely perfect, 20 thousandths. Okay. Sometimes I don't even know my own strength. I should make a YouTube channel. That's how good I am. Okay, so our condenser's in here, points are in there and gapped. Stick our little International Harvester branded dust cover. It's a good idea to hold on to your old rotor in case it's a different shape than what the new one is. I went to CarQuest here in town for a John Deere 2510, and there was enough different rotor styles for that distributor that I had to bring in the one that came out of it because it was a different size and it didn't work. So at least until you know this thing runs, hold on to your old rotors.
oh no, your tires are flat, so when they break down, you can sit on the tire and it's more comfortable.
That's why wide fronts are better than narrow fronts.
Yeah.
Just for when it breaks down in the field, you got somewhere to sit.
It's a lot harder to sit on a narrow front.
We're going to rewire this thing real quick. All we're going to do is we're going to have a wire coming from the negative side of our coil here to here. Okay, so this is the part that gets
Because it was a positive
weird.
ground, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to start over here. So we're going to do like a basic rewire of this thing. We're not going to hook up the charging system because I'm going to convert this thing to a 12 volt alternator, but I don't want to do that right now. So with it being 12 volt and in the future we're putting on an alternator, I'll just make this ready for an alternator down the road. So we're going to take our negative and that'll be our common side. That'll go, or the negative of our coil will go to our distributor. The positive side of our coil will go to our key switch. This side right here is our constant hot coming from the battery. It's unswitched. We're going to take one wire from here up to our key switch. That's what one of these wires is. So one of these will go up to our key switch. Then we're going to go from our key switch in the start position. We'll go down to this solenoid, and that's how we'll turn this on. So we're just going to have, a wire going from here to the key switch, from the start position of the key switch to here, and then from the key switch on over to the coil. The other wire is for our charging system. It comes off of our voltage regulator. We obviously have some issues with our voltage regulator here, so I'm kind of wondering if some of the wires and stuff are shorted. I don't have an alternator with me to start converting this, so I'm just going to do a partial rewire to kind of get rid of, or to bypass this stuff. Do the basics of what we need so we can try and get this thing running right.
Okay.
Okay, so we got it rewired. So I got new wires that I put on earlier in the video, we have coming off of here. This is our hot side of the battery. This comes straight off the battery. It's not switched. Got that going up to our key switch. From our key switch, we have one wire from our ignition side that goes down to the coil, and that's going to be when the key is in the on position, sends power to the coil. Then we got another one coming off of the start terminal of the key switch to our new solenoid. That's all we need. We don't have a charging system hooked up. This is a 6 volt system, still running 6 volt points. 12 volt battery isn't super great for those points, but I don't really care. We'll be able to last quite a while on this battery without having it charged. I'll deal with those later. pulled the fuel line off thinking I was going to need to replace a leaking sediment bowl. We got gas everywhere. So let's see if we can fire this thing up. Out of gear. Choke on.
Turn on your battery disconnect.
Oh, yep. I got half-ish throttle. Our patented battery disconnect. Okay, key on. Clear prop. Gas, or we need some carburetor work. Wow, that's...
It does have oil in it.
It does.
I can smell it.
Yeah. Wow. I honestly don't know what kind of shape this tractor's in. It was parked like 20 years ago, probably like 25 years ago now, pretty close to it. I started it in like 2018, 2019 maybe.
And then robbed the tires off of it for a while.
I robbed these tires off to stick on my WD. Oh no, I didn't actually. This had a bad set of wheels and tires. So these ones are off of a different tractor, so I have no idea the kind of shape this in. I do know that the hydraulic pump blew on this thing, so it mixed a bunch of hydraulic oil with the engine oil. But he had that rebuilt, and then I think he parked it because it didn't have power steering. And this was awfully loose up there, so I don't know if we're going to have to go through some bearings in these steering knuckles or what. But we got it running, and it's rewired. Our 325 is rewired. So our 325 runs. Now we kind of got an idea of what we got to work on: carburetor, front end, some steering stuff. I don't know if this is going to be the permanent set of wheels and tires and centers that go on it, or if I'm going to put these back on a different tractor. But we got it running for now. So thanks for watching another episode of Tractor Roy. If you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe so you can keep up on the projects we're doing like this and the various other projects we got going on. Like this video, helps out with the channel, gets it out there, spread the word. And thanks for watching Tractor Roy. Hope I'll catch you on the next one.